One of the biggest ideological fights over the last 50 years has been the so-called war on drugs, which you point out has been a massive failure. So your essay, The Divine Life of Immortality.
Leaf of Immortality.
Leaf, excuse me.
Yeah.
The attempt to eradicate coca in the war on drugs, you write, essentially amounts to cultural genocide.
Yeah.
Explain.
Well, you know, coca is to cocaine what potatoes are to vodka. And when, you know, officials arrest people for the possession of coca, it's rather like Elliot Ness seizing a truckload of potatoes in violation of the Volstead Act. Coca is a plant that's been used with no evidence of toxicity, let alone addiction, for 8,000 years throughout the Americas, mainly in the Andes and Northwest Amazon. The efforts to eradicate the fields began 50 years before there was a cocaine problem. Began in the 1920s as physicians in Lima looked up into the mountains and saw all kinds of social pathologies and had to find a cause. And because economics and land distribution challenged the foundations of their lives, they settled on coca. And for 50 years, the plant was condemned, and no one did a nutritional study until we did it at the Harvard Botanical Museum in 1974. Five. And what we found horrified our backers at the US government. Yes, coca had a small amount of a precursor to cocaine hydrochloride in it, a mild stimulant like caffeine in a coffee bean, but it also was chock full of vitamins. It had full of protein. It had more calcium than any plant ever studied by science, perfect for a diet in the Andes that lacked a dairy product. It had enzymes that allowed the body to digest carbohydrate at high elevation. Not only was this plant part of the nutritional regime, it was fundamental to the cultural regime. Every single action and interaction in the Andes in particular is based on reciprocity, and the leaves play a quintessential role. And as Catherine Allen, the great anthropologist at Smithsonian, wrote in her book, you cannot be of those mountains if you do not partake in the ceremony. And that's what I said in the book, that it's not like taking beer from the British or coffee from the Turks or a betel nut from the Indonesians. To take coca from the people becomes, in a sense, an act of cultural genocide. You know, and I don't use that word genocide, I say cultural genocide. It's very different than genocide.
The Agenda with Steve Paikin is made possible through generous philanthropic contributions from viewers like you. Thank you for supporting TVO's journalism.